Hello, my name is Neha Mita. The other people in my group are Morgan Grant, Jamal Dean Abdul Rahman, and Miret Tasfeh. We decided to do our presentation on ethylene oxide in Smyrna. So some information to know about ethylene oxide. So what is ethylene oxide? It is a colorless gas that is used when creating other chemicals that is used to make products such as plastics, antifreeze, adhesives, and many other products. Also, it can come from many other sources like chemical manufacturers. So some health effects of this ethylene oxide exposure is there are many long-term effects like memory loss or numbness because it can harm our brain and nervous system. In fact, many studies have shown it can increase the risk of cancer. Lastly, there can be many irritation signs such as affecting parts in our body like eyes or skin. In order to see the levels of exposure of ethylene oxide in Smyrna, we decided to use the Environmental Protection Agency. This agency provides results of ethylene oxide exposure through the National Air Toxics Assessment, which is also known as NATA. This tool helps identify air toxics on both state and local levels. From our research, we were able to see that this oxide is concerning in many different areas around the nation. So, as you can see on the left side of the slide, we decided to provide the two Cobb County census tracts. As you see in the highlighted portion of 312.05, that's where the Smyrna Sterigenics plant is located. And to the north of that is the 312.12, which is north of the Smyrna Sterigenics plant. The EPA stated that the second and seventh highest concentrated areas is here in the state. Along with that, we decided to provide the levels of exposure of the 4 Fulton County tracts and where the highest concentration in the state, which is the Benton-Dixon plant located in Newton County. So as you can see on the map over here, we provided the 4 locations that use ethylene oxides in sterilization plants. In addition to showing maps, we provided data on bar graphs. The left graph shows the toxic values of data when inhaling ethylene oxide. On the right is a graph of regulatory numbers and advising numbers. The difference between regulatory and advising numbers is that advising numbers are incorporated in government regulations like the OSHA and Reference 5, whereas advisory numbers are non-regulatory values from government and other groups for advice. Some of them are listed in the graph, like the Reference 6 NIOSH. After doing research on data, we identified ways to decrease hazards and noticed some inequalities as well. For example, employees working in these facilities are exposed to the ethylene oxide. We found ways in which these hazards can be decreased. First of all, in order to eliminate employee exposure to the hazard, engineering controls should come to use. Secondly, have programs that decrease exposure. In addition to that, have training programs so that employees are aware when exposed to this oxide. Since it is airborne, have regulated areas and have medical surveillance programs for employees working in risk areas. Lastly, have warnings where there is exposure for employees and provide equipment for them to help avoid eye and skin contact. Some ways to be exposed to ethylene oxide is smoking tobacco or breathing contaminated air. Also, people may be exposed in the workplace as well. There are two types of effects, which are acute and chronic effects. Acute effects are examples such as when inhaling the oxide, there can be effects such as nausea and bronchitis. Also, if you have eye and skin irritation, it can be because of dermal or ocular contact. Some chronic effects can be not cancer effects, but irritation of respiratory passages or effects on nervous system. So in many studies, it has shown that female workers are more at risk of breast cancer and lymphoid cancer. In addition to that, ethylene oxide is shown to be the cause of lymphoid cancer and many tumors in the body on animals exposed to this oxide. Lastly, the EPA has concluded that when humans inhale the oxide, it is very likely to be in the carcinogen. The amount of evidence found has proven to be the mutagenic mode of action for ethylene oxide toxicity. These are references, and thank you so much for watching our presentation.